going on, guys? I wanted to give a short little update as to the madness that I've got going on here with these differentials. Basically, I took the diff out of the car because I wanted to know 100% which gear ratio this was, because I had a hunch as to what it was. I figured it was a 331, but I did not remember what I got this diff out of. And before I went and looked for another ratio, I wanted to make sure I knew what I had first. So I took this apart. It is a 331. That is what's in here, which put my second gear top out around 71 mile an hour, and third gear was like 100. So what I was experiencing at the 50K event was that I could do the entry in the first outer zone in third, and then I'd have to downshift in the second to do the rest of the track. So I could be like on somebody through the first outer zone, and then as soon as we got into that first inner, I would downshift, and then after that, everyone would either stay in that gear because they had enough power to run their deeper gear that they ran for the first outer zone. Anyway, I would downshift, and they would immediately like pull from me because they still had a lot of wheel speed, and I didn't. My wheel speed was closer to the speed of which the car was moving. So I just did not have enough power to turn third gear the whole track. I tried it a couple times, and I was like, no, I just can't do this. There's not enough resolution. The wheels aren't spinning enough that I can control the car and put it where I need to. So I was like, okay, what are my options? Throw more power at it. Yeah, cool. Maybe that's in the works. But for right now, I was like, okay, let's figure out what differential I have in here, what ratio, and see if I can get a different ratio. So did some research, saw that they offered a 358 for a Lincoln, Jaguar, and Ford Thunderbirds, all the same diffs. This is an 8.0 diff. This is not an 8.8, even though the axles are still pretty beefy, and honestly look pretty similar to an 8.8 axle. Anyways, pulled this diff apart, pulled it out the car. It was a 331. I had two other diffs. I had one that I had already welded the pumpkin for, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get lucky, and my other spare diff was a 358. It was the other one. And wrong. It was also a 331. So basically I was like, okay, I actually had one more diff that I never got to use because, or I never planned to use. I actually was going to scrap it. It was an aluminum diff out of the V6 that this was originally. So this actual Lincoln, the one that I built into my drift car, was a V6 Lincoln. I immediately was like, okay, there's an iron version. I want to go with the iron one because it will be stronger. And that's what I ended up putting in here, not knowing that there was different gear ratios. So anyways, I took the aluminum one apart, and lo and behold, it actually had a 358. You might be able to see it right there. Hopefully, yep, 358. So it actually had a 358 ring gear. So I took it off of its pumpkin, put it in my other, like I said, the spare iron diff case that I had. And that's kind of what I'm working on now. So I just put the ring on the actual, put it on the carrier. This is my welded carrier. See all my weld juice in there? Pretty gross looking. And just put the pinion out of the aluminum one in here. I got to put a seal on the other side and bearings and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna put this thing back together, throw it in the car, and then this weekend I've got an event that I wanted to do at Riverside Drift in Salem, Indiana, which is the same track that we did for the 50K layout. I think they're doing a couple different layouts, but it sounds like I'll get a chance to at least do a few laps on the 10K, 50K layout, which is the one that I really wanted to test this combination for. And I'm hoping, we'll see how it turns out, that I can stay in third gear from the entry through the first outer zone all the way through, maybe to the very last bit where it transitions on the asphalt. in the track. I'd love to be able to stay in one gear and just focus on driving. I'm gonna go to this event with a pretty grippy setup because I want to, try different things that is in, a non-comp environment. This is just a fun event. It's just a practice basically, and that'll allow me to play around with stuff that I didn't really want to try when I was already, at a competition, only had a few limited amount of laps I could do. So I might try disconnecting the rear sway bar, changing around my rebound and compression settings. I got the axles out right now because the diff's out, but I might play around with these, pull the sway bar off, see if I can feel a difference in the rear of the car with some of that stuff changed. I'm going to do a good alignment on it, make sure I know what my baseline numbers are. And honestly, I just want to start getting more technical with this. Like I'm starting to understand more what changes do to the car and how that affects me as a driver. And I just want more opportunities to try those things out and know what it actually feels like in, what those changes feel like and translate to in this Lincoln. And the only way to do that is to try things. So stay tuned. Might do a quick time lapse of putting this diff together, even though I'm probably going to struggle because I'm going to play around with the backlash a little bit. And haven't put together one of these in a little bit. So, yep. So I had this idea that I wanted to have this diff transport with fluid in it, so if I ever needed to swap it, it would be that much easier. This is the 331 diff, and then in the car is the other welded 358. It's like that's my quick change basically, is being able to swap those two diffs. So I want to make it as easy as possible, and I wanted to put like basically stubs in here so that I could fill it up with oil and it wouldn't leak out in the truck or wherever I keep it. So I'm almost done. We're gonna see how these turn out, but I've got these Delrin pieces made and they should just fit right in where the axles would. So I'm about to cut this last little bit and we'll see how it goes. Voila. See how it fits. Look at that. Bam, nice and tight. I'm super happy with that. Let's see how the other side fits. Actually, let me trim this little titty. It's got a little titty on it. Going in on the titty. Tit be gone. Too lazy to change the bit, so I'm doing it this way. Alright, close enough for me. It really has a purpose that's not very scientific, so. Other side. Let's see what you do. Bam! Look at that. That side actually fits a little bit easier. This side is tight as hell. I can't even get this out while holding the GoPro. That is sick. That makes me happy that that worked out. Let's fill this thing up with diff oil, see if it leaks all over me.